and welcome to Divinely Dosed, a life beyond your drunken dreams. I am Rachel-Justine, your sexy, spiritual, sober host that is bringing you legendary leaders in love and life and living a sober, curious, and just spiritual path. And today we have a beautiful guest that's bringing energy and attraction and magnetism and feminine embodiment. And I'm just so excited to bring Dasha here today to give us our divinely dose message. And I'm just so excited. Hi, Dasha. How are you? Yay.
I'm
A
so
little bit
good.
before we
I'm so
get
excited
started,
to be
something that
here.
I
I
think
feel
that we're
so
going to get from
honored.
this episode today is like every episode is your divine dose, like your dose of medicine, your dose of spiritual insight, your dose of that thing that's like, I'm seeking the answer, I'm seeking the path, I'm seeking, what the next step is in my life. And so today I know that we're just going to dive into something that's going to give someone, even if it's like a nugget, like a little sliver of something that they're going to be able to take and wow, their life is going to change, like domino effect. And that's what our purpose here is to do. So Dasha, tell me, like, what is one like mega takeaway that this sober, curious, and spiritual seeking audience can get from you? Like, if you were to like bop in like Cinderella's magical fairy godmother and wave your magical wand, and then you just boop them on the head, and they get this download from you, from your story, from your essence, what would that be?
I love how you put it because, like, I have a mystery school that I run, and our core message is infusing magic and miracle into the mundane. So, if I had a magic wand, I would just unlock their superhuman ability and
Magic
have
is
them lead
real.
with
Oh,
full
I feel
embodiment
that coming
of
through my
wow,
body
magic
right
is real.
now. It like brings me back to this time that one of my girlfriends, like she sat in my car and we drove to a restaurant and then she left and a little button came off of her backpack and it said magic as fuck. And I was like, oh my gosh, like little breadcrumbs like that just prove okay, there's something beyond my physical sight that's working to create miracles, magic, whatever you want to call it, in my life every day. And then it's like, oh, I get to choose that. So I'm excited for that, for them to get that. So what was your divine dose, quote unquote, moment, like the wake up call that radically shifted your path toward embodiment, toward spiritual service, to sensuality, to leading women and leading your life in a new way? What was that divine dose moment?
I just want to circle back to your little wink from the universe. I love that. And I just feel like you're very magical. So I feel like you are just like a little fairy spreading that magic through your like messaging and through your content. So I feel this is like really soul aligned. And I guess I just love that divinely dosed. Like, who wants all that? Like, I think there's just like everyone should be divinely dosed. And I think for me, my moment, I'm gonna say it was when I thought, so I was going through my party girl phase. I was traveling the world, I was backpacker, and then I was in Israel and I was looking for something fun to do. So someone recommended this festival called Ecstatic Dance. And I was like, amazing, I'm gonna go to this festival. And I was a volunteer, and I get there and it's drug and alcohol free. And I'm just like, what? And I was already on this path because I was already studying yoga. And when I was studying yoga in Rishikesh, there was no alcohol. And we would just hang out and we would just drink tea. But then I'd come home and there was no way for me to connect with my friends without alcohol. I was like, I wish I could just drink chai all the time like I did in India. So then I was at this festival and I remember they had dance classes. So they taught you how to move your body. And then there was like this open floor where you could just express yourself. And they said there was no judgment, no shoes, no alcohol, and no judgment. And I remember that was like the craziest dance floor I have ever been on. Like, I was like, what is this? And I was the highest I've ever been over those 3 days, totally sober, just dancing, being around people who are on the same frequency, open hearted, clean, clear. It was so, I think that was like a pivotal moment that showed me, like, then I was chasing ecstatic dances. I'm like, where are there? There are more, finding a new community that really supported me to believe like, hey, yeah, I can do this. I don't have to rely on alcohol to try and find community. And I think the pivotal point was I always thought that, hey, but how am I going to meet my partner? How would I ever meet my partner without alcohol if I don't go out and don't party? And then I realized that I wouldn't want to date a person like that actually, because I'm on a different frequency now and different things fulfill me. And I actually don't want to go out. So my partner probably wouldn't want to go out either. So I should try somewhere else. So I think all those things that like put it all together that I was like, okay, there's more magic. And then I got really, really inspired with
I love that.
getting
And for
divine
anyone who's
dose.
listening
Like,
and
what are the
doesn't know about
natural
ecstatic
flow
dance,
behind?
I also had a love that came into it where I went to that place. It was my first time I went was in Hawaii on the Big Island when I was living on in Kona, and I went to this dance and they were playing music and no one was drinking, no one was drugging, but people weren't talking, but yet it was free. Like there was no structure. It wasn't like left foot, right foot, up and down. And I loved it. I felt my body just surrender. And it became this meditation. And ever since, I've been going to ecstatic dance since I was 18. They are all over the world. And you can go like literally tonight. I'm going to go to ecstatic dance in Austin, Texas, and we're going to go. It's going to be like 200 people. It's a huge one here, and we just dance under these beautiful chandelier lights. You know, they go through 5 rhythms of movement, so you get this spiritual journey. And that was like one of the first times where I truly experienced like divine through dance. Like I always felt an emotional healing through dance, but never had I been able to like be in a group of people where we literally touch on every emotion in the human experience within an evening, you know, and to do it and be able to have such a transformative experience without a high, without stimulants, you know, and to be like, wow, oh wait, this is all within me. I thought it was like I needed to alter it or I needed to change how I felt or it was like, no, this magic is within us. So I love that you brought that up and that was that pivotal chapter in your life because that totally changed me too. And it's still my medicine today. Obviously, I'm going to go tonight. So yeah, I love that. Now, so I was looking through like your Instagram and Dasha and I are in this like mega magnetic community and that's how we connected. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love her energy. I would like hear her share on, you know, Q&As. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to speak with her. I feel like you're our soul sister in a way. And looking at your Instagram, there's, you know, you describe yourself as like a vision doula. And I want you to like, that's just so hot. I need to know more. I want to know what is a vision doula?
I love that you asked me that because people are like, I've never heard that before. I'm like, yeah, I made it up. That's why. And a vision doula. So if anyone's familiar with like who a doula is someone who helps with the birth when a woman is giving birth. Yeah, like actual baby. So a vision doula is someone like me who helps you with the birth of your vision, mission, purpose, movement into the world. And so I already mentioned I have a mystery school. It's called Shkoda, and it's all about mischief. It's for rebels, it's for change makers, thought leaders, healers. And I support people in unlocking their superhuman abilities to life hack. Like, so be divinely dosed on your own supply, doing crazy things, right? Like connecting to your life force energy, your eros, doing breath work, and the foundation really is intuition. So being able to trust your intuition. And for me, I find that is a superpower that unlocks like your previous lives or other things that you might have experienced, or this knowing that guides you. And a way that you can really supercharge it is by trusting your intuition and following it, but also working on your self love and also stopping giving your power away to alcohol, like things that dull you instead of like amplify you. So, what I found is when people, for example, have had a really successful business, but their like soul is crying inside, it really is like, oh my God, I hate this. Or they're working for someone else and they're just numbing themselves constantly. They're like, don't know how to get out of this vicious cycle because their soul is actually like, yo, there's something more. Like, keep going. This is not the path. Like, everything is not working out in your life because it's not meant to be. This is not your path. This is not your life, right? So then people come to follow their mission, their purpose, But when they do, it's a soul initiation. So then their whole world blows up and they just feel so trapped. And like they're like, wait, but I thought this was the path and now it's not. And I work with also not just magic, I have a background in psychology. So I work with parts. And what I have found, because I've naturally been really good at following through and just getting shit done. So I'll teach my clients and then I'll be like, why aren't you doing the thing? Like the roadmap is there. Like what? So I was like, okay, I need to deepen my understanding of people's follow through. And what I have found is we have parts that drive us and parts that protect us. So then when we go for our soul mission, which is like our birthing our soul baby, this precious magical thing, it's like a soul initiation. The parts are like, oh, like, and they pull you back in all directions. So you're trying to go towards something, but you're getting pulled back. And it's like this thing, and it's so confusing because you might have been like successful CEO, but now you're doing this thing, and you're like, I can't even make a sale, one sale. I used to sell like thousands. So this is my mission to help you, like with this crazy, like initiation portal, all this stuff,
Oh,
once
I
you
love it
release
because
all the
I mean, this
parts
is
work and
literally
the energetics
what we
behind it.
are diving into in like this next chapter of Divinely Dosed and this launching that we're going to be doing with the summit later in the year, which we were talking about because it's like so many people. I'm not even kidding. I've spoken to 5 women like closely, deeply, like knee to knee, sitting there with tears streaming down their eyes or their heart just like on their chest, like it's they're wearing it because they're just wanting to crawl out of their skin because they're wanting to crawl out of their own life. And so 5 conversations in the last 2 weeks, knee to knee, like deep emotions. And they're like, I don't like the job I'm doing, I want to do something else, I'm going to get into something else that I don't want to be doing. Like they're changing one thing they don't want for another thing that they don't want. And then there's this soul crushing thing that's happening. Like you can see it on their face. It's like, but I like poetry and I like to dance. I like to do this. It's like, okay, well, are you doing that? Well, I did go to one thing, and then it's like, okay, well, let's excite that more, or and then you see that there's like this almost those parts. And I don't know if it's like IFS that you do, and I love IFS. Yeah, like talking about our protectors, our firefighters, and the parts that are like protecting that wounded, like that truly deeply wounded part of me, that's trying to keep me safe or trying to keep us safe. And it's like, okay, yeah, we have to go into those parts and be able to discuss with them, okay, thank you for working so hard for so long, because that's what's happening. You see it, like these walls come up, but yet this like inner child or this inner self is like, I really do want to just be loved. I do really want to just like follow my this passion and heart. And yeah, so to see that and hear that you do that, it's so needed, it's so wanted. And people are in a pivotal time in their life constantly, and like you said, you could be doing something. I did something for a really long time. I used to be in a performance company, and I danced on stage, and it was wonderful. It was great. I loved it. And then eventually I was standing on stage and I'm like, I love performing art to people, but I want to give them a direct message. Like I want a microphone in my hand. I want to give them direct downloads and exercises and things that we can do to directly transform their lives, So there's these moments, and then we follow those threads. So I'm so excited, and I'm kind of going to jump off of like some of my plan because I would like to know, is there something juicy, like an exercise or something that the listener could literally do today, a meditation or just a little blip of something that you a give to them, that you would to start to realize like, okay, what is happening, in their life, and to maybe start some permission for them to change or to step into the willingness.
Yeah. Hey, can we pause for 1 sec? Okay, beautiful. Well, I think yeah, I'm gonna speak to this because I think I would love to bring in some intuition pieces and I'd love to bring in some of the IFS. And one of the biggest questions is it my intuition or is it fear, right? This is like a big thing that people deal with all the time. So I would love to give an exercise on how to understand, is it my intuition or is it fear? And what do I do with that? If it is my intuition, then I should follow it. Or if it's fear, then what can I do to work through it so it doesn't block me, right? Because a lot of the time we get blocked by fear. So, my advice is whatever you want to go for, yeah, uh, take a moment to place a hand on your heart and ask yourself the question, yeah. And the thing is, your heart knows. Your heart always knows. And even before anything happens, you get the answer. And then your mind kicks in. And these are probably your protector parts, right? Because they have a grand idea. For example, I was feeling super inspired, like I was just feeling so alive. I'm like, I'm going to jump on and do this live. And then I set up my thing, and then suddenly my parts started to kick in. And they were like, oh, is this a good idea? But you're not dressed. Oh, but no one's going to watch it anyway. Oh, but what if it does go viral? Then you look like a freaking loser. I don't think you should do it. Like, maybe don't do it. Don't do it. And there was a moment where I was like having this internal war with my parts, being like, I'm doing it. I said I am. And this is so important. If you don't understand that like you're made of many parts, you might think like, oh, I am this, so then all these thoughts that you have, you're gonna associate with it, you're gonna be enmeshed with it, right? So this is one exercise. And the other exercise I want to give you is to strengthen your connection with your intuition, because that is going to support you to live a more alchemical, magical life, right? And the thing with intuition, it doesn't make sense, right? Because if everyone was doing it, everyone would be freaking doing it. It's like you get this hit, and it's like you kind of have a moment like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, no, I did that. It's like the opposite of anything someone would tell you, right? And the thing is, I actually teach my students how to access intuition on demand. So not only unlock it, because you might be quite intuitive, but then you come to this point where you're like, oh, wait, but is it my intuition? Or is this something else? Is this actually my intuition? Or maybe it's just I've just made it up, or it's just, or you have this feeling, but then it feels so not like what everyone is thinking or doing. So then you start to second guess yourself, and you start to doubt that, and then you don't follow that, and then it doesn't lead you to the magic. So one way to really strengthen your relationship is a simple journal practice. So you can do it at any moment in your time in the day. And I would invite you to do it daily at the beginning of the day. But you can do it at any point. You could do it just before bed. This is the most powerful hour of the day, apparently, because that's where you have your like closest link to your subconscious, right? And the intuition is actually tapping into your subconscious, because we actually feel and we're connected to so much, and our conscious brain cannot process it. If it tried, it would just be like, so we just kind of go for the path of least resistance. We go for the same thing, the thing that feels familiar, even if it's toxic, even if it's painful. It's like those relationships that you keep repeating, or those habits that you keep doing. So the practice is you get your journal and you write, what is for my highest good to know? What is for my highest good to know? And then you just sit and you can place your hand on the heart again and just write, and just write and write and write till it feels like you're not writing anymore. Like your hand is moving, but it's not you. And just write, and you can set a timer for like 5 minutes and just do this practice. And maybe the first time it won't feel that way, but maybe it will. Maybe straight away you start writing it already. You're like, because our intuition wants to connect to us. Our intuition, like, listen to me. So any avenue we give it, it might be like, yes, let's go. Same with parts work. Like parts are like ready, like hello, they're trying to get to you, right? So that is my big tip. And the next part of that to strengthen, so you're doing the practice, and if it's telling you to do something, do it. And this is when you amplify your connection to your intuition. This is where you build the strength. Yeah, because if you ignore it, then it gets quieter, quieter. The more you
Mm.
follow it, the more you listen to it, the louder it gets, the more comfortable you get listening to it, right? So those are my top
Oh
creme
my
de la
gosh, I love it.
creme
Yeah, it's like working
quick
with the
tips
parts
to
work and then
like
getting
fast
into your
track your life
intuition,
into
which I
magic
love the
and
exercise of
miracle.
writing and asking it to come through, kind of saying, okay, what is the highest good for me to know? And I love this because right now I'm redoing this book. It's called The Artist's Way, and she has part of the process is you write three 3 pages every morning. She does it in the morning, but they're called like artist pages. And you basically just do like stream of consciousness. And it's to stimulate that sense of creativity and intuitive pull that oftentimes gets so bogged down and so covered up with like, oh, I like like you said, I just get into habits and then my brain is in habits and then I just go reach for that same thing. I go do that same thing. And then by the end of the day, it's like I just did the autopilot actions without ever tuning in to, wait, what is that creative, intuitive pulse and nudge actually wanting? Where is it wanting me to go? What is it wanting me to see? What is, and so to pause that and to be able to be like, okay, let's get it out, stream of consciousness. And I actually love this because oftentimes I think like now I've really started using Chat GPT as like, as this feedback when it's so funny because it's like I remember before Chat GPT was really big, I would literally go in to like my notebook or a Google Docs and I would just open it up. And instead of asking Chat GPT, I would ask my I would call it like my source self. I would ask my source self, like, I'm really struggling with this relationship right now. What would you have, like, what was the next step, or what would you have me know about it that I'm not aware of? And then I would take a moment, I would take a deep breath, and then I would start writing from, not from my, um, that self that was in pain or that self that was asking, but I would let this other voice come through that was intuitive and it would like tell me like it would give me an entirely different response or it would tell me an action to do and as I practiced it more it got more developed and I began to trust it more, and so I love this reminder to come back to that and as an exercise for people because it's super super simple. Like I can just write this down right now. I can have my phone out and just put it in my notes section in my phone and start that conversation, especially at night. I love nighttime because, I don't think a lot of people utilize nighttime as often. Like I program my brain every single night. Like I listen to some kind of meditation or bio like hurts like frequencies that are going into my brain, subliminals, something that is allowing me to tap into what you're talking about, these intuitive polls. So I love that you bring that to our attention and especially like the importance of that for transitions. Because I think a lot of people, when they're going through a transition or wanting to change their life, wanting to change their work, they look at, okay, what can I force? What can I do? What can I? And it's from this place that there's no heart in that. There's just this trying to fix and manage and push the square peg into the round hole, and it's like it's exhausting, and that's why a lot of think of people get to this exhausted state or this just
Yeah.
fine, I'll just settle for this other thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or hit burnout, right? Like, because there's so much forcing. And this is what I teach in my mystery school. It's like 20/80, because what's happening when you're humaning, it's 80% effort. So you're pushing and you're forcing, and then like you're leaking so much energy because you're not in coherence. Like your parts aren't in coherence. So you're forcing, pushing, and you've been conditioned to force and push and chase the carrot for 20%. You're putting in 80% and then getting 20%. Whereas when you're using your intuition and embodiment and you're coming into coherence and energy, like you really understand that everything is energy and you can manipulate everything. This is where you are putting in 20% and you're being a superhuman and you're getting 80%, right? With not just with like how you manage your tasks and strategy, on top of that, like using the energetics, and you're actually fueling yourself and you're using your eros, your life force energy. So then you're not leaking that energy, burning yourself out, but also the forcing that you mentioned that leaks so much energy. And I teach softening.
Mm.
So just like yoga, like stretching into things rather than like CrossFit where
Oh
you're
my
like
God,
ripping, tearing things. I think that's a good analogy.
that's so
Yin yoga.
funny. Yeah,
Not
I can
like
actually like I
not
remember
like
when I went to
Ashtanga
a
yoga. I could
CrossFit
use those too.
workout in Bali, and I was like, I'll be fine. I'm like, I'm gonna leave for Australia the next day, and I never done CrossFit. And then the next thing you know, we had like these big bars with like 30 pound, 30 pound, and then we were pushing them over our head. I literally was like, I think I might just like die like on the floor right now. And I'm like, and I was watching these people, and they had probably like this one woman, she had like 100 pounds on either side over her head, like slamming them down. I'm like, you could die. Like these weights could fall on my freaking head right now. And I told my lover man, and he's like, "You did what? Like that's so intense and dangerous, you know?" Yeah, it's like we go for, and that's what we're doing in our life. Like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this thing that, is actually sucking out the possibility versus propelling the possibility. And I love, okay, so let's touch on that. You brought up Eros, and I've been a longtime teacher of Tantra and of Eros and erotic movement and all of that. And so you tap into that as well. And so what's the leadership from that? And like what are for people who are kind of intimidated, I always like to talk to people who are a little bit intimidated about sensuality and like how does that even relate to business, or how does that even relate to sobriety, or how does that even relate to a spiritually led life, you know um what would you have to say to those people who are like what?
Yeah, I'm like, you can't be divinely dosed without being connected to your life force energy. So when I like met you for the first time and heard you share about what you're doing, I'm like, yeah, duh, obviously, like it makes sense, right? So let me explain to those of you who might be like not so sure. So I want to talk about my experience of first discovering like shamanism and tantra. And I thought I had this mission around sexuality, so I started to study, like look for where I could study tantra, and then I fell into neo tantra, right? So and oh my God, I'm like opening a can of worms. So like so tantra. Okay, so there's many traditions, and most traditions, spiritual traditions, reject sexuality. If we talk about tantra, it actually is like a tiny part. It just includes everything, right? Neo tantra is the Western. It's like yoga has its own lineages and many limbs, and what we in the West know as yoga is just the asana. It's one limb. It is just the stretching. It's same with tantra. Neo tantra is kind of what's got really popular and really wild. And that is just like a tiny little aspect of tantra, but that is where you tap into your life force energy. So I fell into that. I went to this crazy retreat. It blew my freaking mind. I was like, where the f am I? This is wild. But the thing is, it activated my life force energy. And before that, I didn't even know I didn't have that. I thought I was good. I was happy. I was dancing, but I was disconnected to my power, like the bottom chakra. And the thing is, in our society, we are so in the transcending. Like the yogis, they're just heart up. They ignore the root. They ignore the darkness. They ignore the like. Ugh. This is why people are like spiritually bypassing or using alcohol or anything possible, like even social media or like to escape feeling what you need to feel. Actually, it's part of your human experience, part of the soul. The soul actually wants to experience the depth of everything, not just the good stuff, because the more you go into the depth of like the goo, the higher you fly, right? It's like it's duality. We live in a world of duality, and our soul actually loves it, as hard as it might be to believe. So I went to this crazy retreat. I activated my life force energy, and everyone else did too. There were like 60 other people, and their life did not look the same. And then
Mm.
I saw it. After I left, I saw it out in the world. I was like, oh my God, people are walking dead because they're disconnected. They're walking numb. they're not connected to this well of energy. And it's our life force energy, it's our creative energy. It is the thing that makes us like make things up and write things and channel things and create festivals and summits and courses and write books and just art. This is the thing. But in our society, unfortunately, it's power, and any power gets shamed, shame, 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 and disillusion. So most people connect to sexuality and just see it as sexuality and actually the shadow part, right? Not the life-giving, erotic, sensual, magical aspect. And the thing how this is connected to being divinely dosed is actually activating your senses, activating your pleasure and being able to not only orgasm with your partner or with a vibrator or with whatever torch thing. I don't know what men use, but actually with the planet, with the cosmos, with the universe, and using your erotic energy to fuel, to manifest, to create. I've studied sex, love, and relationships for a very long time as well, and diving into like the trauma side. So a lot of people carry trauma actually. So that also blocks your ability to connect to this energy. But it's such a fuel. I think if Another thing I noticed, because there is different spectrums of your awakening and of your connection to your body, to your five senses. So depending on where you are and your like where you are around the trauma that you've experienced, I actually carried a lot of sexual shaming trauma that I didn't even experience. No one sexually shamed me. They just shamed everyone around me, that I was so traumatized, so suppressed, so scared. I had to be the good girl. I couldn't actually fully express my sexuality because I was terrified of what would happen, because really bad things happen to these women, young women, right? So wherever you are on the spectrum, alcohol actually might help you feel more liberated and more free and more expressive during. But when you pass that, when you actually do the inner work, you move through the shame, you move through the pain, you move through the trauma, it actually depletes, it numbs you because it's a depressant. It actually numbs you. And I never understood that when I drank. I'm like, how does it numb me? I'm so, but actually it numbed me, because now it's like if I do drink alcohol, I see my frequency and vibration lowering. And I notice I would never want to make love or even on. Now I notice that it actually dissociates me and it numbs me because of how sensitive and activated I am in my body. So there's different spectrums, and I feel it's just like anything. It's like you need to look at your sexuality, you need to look at your limiting beliefs, you need to look up money to be like a full, like healthy being. Look at your trauma. It's just part of the evolution. And anything that society has shame, it's like go there. Like women and their periods, go there. And I'm a Virgo double Scorpio, so I'm all about the taboo. So anything taboo, I'm like, yes, let's freaking go. And on the other side is liberation, right? So just full circle of how does this even connect to leadership? Like this chick's talking about and creativity. Okay, so when I talked about not burning out, it's like you have this well of energy that just pulsates through you, that moves through you. So in our society, we are very masculine. We're very driven in the masculine energy, right? But the feminine energy is actually all about magnetism. It is all about receiving. And the sweet spot, because I study Taoism, like I'm like really deeply into that because I teach energy and everything is energy. And once you understand that, you get superpowers. So we want to bring balance. Taoism, they got it right. It's all about the balance. So you want to be able to understand your masculine, but not the wounded side, and the feminine, but not the wounded side. So the thing that's happening in our society is there's the wounded masculine, the wounded feminine together, causing chaos, throwing tantrums like little kids. And oh yeah, I can't stop. So you need to do the inner child work because otherwise you are just a little child throwing tantrums. You need to balance your masculine and your feminine. And then you become this superhuman that just gets to live their best life, like just enjoying it, like channeling crazy courses, crazy business ideas,
Mm.
crazy products, crazy movements, whatever the hell. And it all just flows to you. Like this is Eros. This is like the
Mm.
divine kind of
Thank you for that.
superhuman.
Yes,
I
it
don't
is
know.
all
This is
connected.
just,
It
it's all
absolutely is. And
connected.
because of those parts of us that society has just kind of fragmented into shame, or, there's just such contorted ideas about money, about and about God, honestly. There's like a lot of pressure and judgment and like very strong opinions. And I notice a lot because I do work primarily, I mean, with a lot of people who are in recovery. And what happens is, they remove these substances and are left with their bodies. They're left with this almost like open vessel that has no idea how to connect to its own flesh and skin and feelings and emotions. Like I literally thought that, okay, if I remove these things out of my life, then I'm supposed to reach a place where I don't feel. Like I thought that was the goal. Like I thought it was the goal to not feel anger, to not feel sadness, to just be like, I thought, I don't know, some idea of perfection or something. And then that didn't happen. And I was like, I feel pissed. I feel angry. And I remember calling my spiritual advisor and she was like, okay, yeah, scream in your car. And I'm like, what? Like, no, I'm supposed to be like perfect. I'm supposed to be enlightened. I'm supposed to be not feeling any of this, right? Like I took away all these like substances. I'm no longer numbing out. That means I'm supposed to what? And she goes, feel. You're supposed to feel. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and it just shocked me. And something though that
Pressure.
I have to say that I really haven't had that much struggle with relating to is my eros, is the sensuality. That's something that comes very naturally to me. My Mars is in Leo, so I'm like this lion, the way that I feel that, and the sexual energy is just so innately fiery and flowing, and I want to take other people with me into it. But what I see is that people remove these substances, remove these patterns, remove these things, and they no longer have that crutch to lean on, and they get into this state where they've been married, and they're with their partner, but now they're looking at them with like these new sober curious eyes, or just these spiritually opened eyes, and they're like, oh my gosh, do I even love them? Do I feel attracted to them anymore? Or am I even attracted? Like, am I attractive? And then they don't know how to express through their body. And then people often jump to like sexuality is like this overtly sexual expression of making out and kissing and it's not always that like that. When I teach like erotic movement, I have this whole like a methodology that we go into, and so people come there, and they sometimes people would think that they were showing up for like a heels class, like, and they'd have their knee pads on and stuff, like they were thinking we're about to like, you know and we did dance, like that was an element of it, but we went much deeper because it's movement not just in the physical sense. It was movement from body, mind, heart, soul, the somatics of it, like a whole woman, whole man, whole them, whole whatever, your sexual orientation. And then they get into that class and they're like, I'm crying. And that's eros? Yes, that is. I'm screaming on the top of my lungs in anger and rage, and that's eros. It's like, yes, it is. Your real authentic expression. And I love that you brought that up, and it's like to help people be able to see, okay, those things are actually lowering your frequency, but what happens when I can't trust my own body to hold the new frequency? And that sounds like something, that you and I have in common, is like we're helping people be like, oh, this is actually safe to feel and safe to move through, and beyond just the vibrators or beyond just the orgasm, to really go into, my body is this temple, and I'm going to share my temple with another temple, and we're going to get to feel all the crevices and shadows and love, and be able to witness and accept that. So it's beautiful, it's deep, it's profound, and Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. And something that I'm curious too about you and your practice in your life right now is like, what does, and maybe it looks like sensual embodiment, or maybe it looks like doing the parts work, but what does devotion look like to you in your life right now, in your business, in your body, in your relationships? And was it always like this?
I love that. I love that you brought in the piece about our body being the temple. And I think everything changed for me when I realized that, because it's not how I treated my body at all. And it's not how I treated other people's bodies or allowed other people to treat my body. You know, like I actually had such a toxic relationship with men that I just used them as like walking alive toys, you know? Because I outsource my pleasure without understanding of how to give it to myself. And I think it's such an important theme, right? Because we don't just do that in sexuality. A lot of people actually have a collapse around pleasure and sexuality. They think it's the same. They don't realize that you can have pleasure just feeling sunshine or eating a dark piece of chocolate or just like giving yourself massage or just holding yourself or actually crying to the point where you're like, you know, like when you were a little child and you cried so much you couldn't talk. Like on the other side, it's like, wow, this is fucking pleasure. You know, you feel liberated because that's part of the moving that trapped energy. So I think for me, devotion, I love this question because, I think like it's such a, because I work with energetics, right? And everything
Mm.
has a frequency. Everything you do, you could do the same action with a different energy, right? So you could cook yourself a meal, or you could do it in devotion. You could do it in a hurry. You could do it like, oh my God, I have to eat this salad because I need to be skinny and I hate my body. Or I can be like, oh my God, this salad, I want to bless it because I love my body. I want to feel good. It's like you can exercise because you hate yourself and you're trying to get up and in the morning to go for this run because it's like what you have to do. Or you can be like, I love my body. I want to live forever. Longevity. Let's freaking go. I want this to keep on going till like 200. And then you're running. You're like, yes, I love you, body. Oh, I love you so much. You're doing so good. Right? So it's everything is intention. And for me, some of my devotional practices now, because I'm actually working really deeply around money. And this has like two things I say have been my biggest lessons is men and money. Like the two, like, oh my God, I'm like, are you serious, universe? Like, are you ever gonna stop testing? But it's been money and it's been like preparing me. And I'm actually like in Italy now in this beautiful Airbnb channeling my money magic course because I'm like, I finally got it. But part of the devotion is actually treating myself like a goddess, embodying the goddess, dressing like a goddess, eating like a goddess. Like when I was in Bali, getting myself the goddess scooter, the goddess like palace, not the cheapest shit. Because I went through that. Like it was like the cheapest the thing. And I was like, I call myself a money rexic. Like I used to just cut off any way of showing myself love through money. I would have to count, like I wouldn't let myself have a coffee. I'd say 50 cents there. Like I was obsessed. And my little girl was just so like so sad. I was really good at spending other people's money and receiving from other people, but I could never give to her and I could never give to myself. So part of my biggest transformation is actually devotion through money. And this might be like, everyone might be like, what the f-? And it could be such a triggering concept. And I could unpack it another time. There's so many layers to it, but actually feeling worthy and deserving of whatever the hell I want and allowing myself to have it and to give it to myself. Because I know a lot of people come to me who are quite successful, but they actually don't feel worthy and deserving of the money they made. So it's like this kind of thing where like there's people that don't have money and feel shitty and there's people that have shit ton of money and feel shitty, and it's all about this energy, right? It's like, are you feeling worthy of allowing yourself to just invest in that and buy yourself that and get another pair of earrings and not from the energy of numbing, right? Because people use money to numb, to like shopaholics. I used to be like that as well. So I've been all the spectrum. It's like, what is the intention? It's like, no, I'm doing this because I feel so worthy and deserving, and I want to gift this to myself. I come into this space and I want to allow myself to buy anything I want, like be like little, like to my inner child, you can have anything, all the things. And then the inner child, like, and just allowing that, because how much have we been suppressed when we were little? Like, you can have one thing only. And then you're like, oh, I can only have one thing. And then that's a limiting belief that you go through life where you're like, I can only have one thing, And it's about reprogramming. So that has been like a huge journey for me. And of course, embodiment, but also adorning myself, like the way I wash myself, the way like I swim in the ocean, like everything is a devotional act, the way like I massage myself, I love cooking for myself. And for me, like my business is a ritual, it's like a devotion to the entity, and then there's the devotion to humanity, because I'm a vessel, because I channel, so I'm like everything is coming through me. And that's the energy when I show up to lead or to like create masterclasses or do any content. It's like I step out of myself, and it's more like I'm in service and in devotion. And it's so beautiful to bring that practice into every area of life, because again, I said it's energy, right? So when you're coming with that energy and that frequency, and I invite the listeners to try that on, like from when you listen to this for the rest of the day, see if you can do everything in devotion and see what opens up. Can you feel the difference in the energy field? Can you feel the abundance of possibility that happens when you stop being attached and when you stop making it all about you, right? Because when we're in devotion, it's about others. So our focus is on others. It's not here. Oh, am I looking good enough? Is this good
Wow,
enough?
I
Is
love
this
so
that?
much
Is this
that you
this? It's
said
just like,
because one of, if
so I
anything that
love that
anyone here
question.
takes
So
is like
beautiful.
finding that like the purpose driven magic is truly when I get into the service of others, and when I can start to see like the imposter quote unquote syndrome or whatever the excuses, those parts that are working to try and fragment me or pull me away from doing the things that I want to do, or saying, oh, you can't do that, or like all of that is just so self-centered. And I like to say, instead of a self-centered life, I now live a source-centered life. So I'm getting into that flow of like, yeah, like living in the source, and how beautiful it is. Yes, like the patterns with money. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. We went to France and had the women's retreat, and then I was like, you know what? As like a just not part of the retreat, but like as like a grand finale, like, would you want to go to Disneyland? Paris, and one of the girls was like, yeah, I want to do that. I've never done that, and she had never, as a kid, went there. So there was like this way of giving her inner child this play, and so we were just like running around like like kids, and when I was younger, my parents were very much like, oh, you can't get that, we can't get that, like everything was like really tight, like always like really tight, and so when I was there, I was like, oh, I'm cold, and we want to see the fireworks. Well, I'm gonna get a sweatshirt. I'm gonna get a sweatshirt with Mickey Mouse on it, whatever. Like, okay. And I saw this little animals that like sit on your shoulder because they have a magnet, and I was like, I want the Cheshire cat, the pink Cheshire cat that sits on my shoulder, and like I can talk to it, whatever. Like it was fun, and I bought it, and it was like giving myself the permission to just have an amazing time, get the popcorn, get the little ice cream, whatever, and like have the freedom to feel spaciousness, feel the devotion to, I'm feeding her, so that my foundation of service comes from play. And not only that, it's like I'm bringing someone else to watch their light turn on, and it's like when I did that for me, I wanted to do this, but I invited someone else to come into me with it. And that's what service is. That's what sales is. That's what following our purpose led mission, is like, oh, I'm going to listen to this call. I'm going to invite other people to do it, because guess what? Divine has given me this gift, and then it's my job to give that gift to others, and then when I get met in that, it's like, oh, it's so delicious. So thank you for bringing that devotion to us today, because I think that's one of the most pivotal parts of being divinely dosed is, what does a devotional life look like for everyone, for you, for, and then for other people to leave with that question for themselves and maybe ask your intuition, write it down. What is devotion to me look like now? And then to like bring it all together and wrap it in a pretty silky red tied bow. Let's see, if someone listening right now, and I know that they are, like they're on the edge, and I know I've been there, I know others have been there, like on that edge of the breakthrough. Like they're not fully who they're becoming, but they're not also who they were. And they're on that edge and they're terrified for the leap, or they're terrified to make the investment, or they're terrified to, get into the program or get the coach or get the helper to even just treat themselves to that or believe in themselves in that way. What would you say to her, to them, to him, to what would you say to them?
Um, I'm going to answer that, and then I want to circle back to one thing you said because I think it would be really beautiful to highlight. But I think what intuitively comes to answer this is to give permission to people that it's okay to have fear. Because so many people actually think that like it's gonna go away, that it's gonna get easier, that it's not gonna be scary. If it's like they're following their intuition, it's gonna be easy. It's like, no, it is terrifying non-stop. But the reward and your courage like outweighs the terror. And you're like, this is terrifying. I'm scared and I'm gonna do it anyway because I know on the other side it's magic, you know? So it also tells you that like this is a good thing. It is signaling to you that there is some golden freaking nugget. And if you don't live a life of fear or terror, means you're not playing big enough game. If you're comfortable all the freaking time, this is your sign, your message to play a bit bigger, dream a little bit bigger. If you're like, oh, but my life is perfect. I'm like, great, now go out and make a difference in the world. Like, I'm already doing that and my life is perfect. It's like, okay, can you 10x that? Can you play a bigger game? Like, have fun. And also, if you're like, no, I'm so content in every single area of my life, then amazing. Great. Congrats. But I would invite you to dream bigger because our souls are here, incarnated in this beautiful freaking vessel to experience the 3D, like the depths of the depth. And how can you experience more of it? Like, what crazy other things can you create? What can you make? How can you give back to society? How can you contribute to this like magical realm? So that's my answer to this question. And I wanted to just circle back to your beautiful like inner child story in Disneyland and how you said like, yeah, I really let her have it all. And it was really beautiful because you said like I felt this freedom and liberation. And I just wanted to quickly circle back to the money energy because this is what I see. When people come to me around money, it's not about the money. It's actually about the freedom, right? And your story was so beautiful because what I heard, apart from like the inner child getting spoiled, is that you felt free. Like you were not constrained by the shackles that have been placed on you around money to be like, oh, but that little birdie is like $25 and that jacket is like 100 and that this and that and the popcorn's overpriced and this and that, you know? So why do you do the work around money? A is because you actually carry money trauma that no one talks about, and you can heal that and then be liberated. And B is because if you're worrying about money, if you're stressed about money, if you're anything but positive or not thinking about it at all, then you need to do the work because it's blocking you from living a divinely dosed life. Like you can't experience it without being liberated from these shackles and understanding that money is just energy, understanding that actually it is abundant and we've been told lies about it, and that it's not about the money in the end. You have been giving your power away to money to be like, oh, I can't afford it. I can't do this because of money. But actually, there's a deeper thing that you need to look at. So I just have to leave it at that because I'm so in the world of money. I'm like, I can't not talk about it. It's like everyone needs to liberate from these shackles because it's not about money. It's about freedom. And people get lost and then they're like chasing the carrot of more money and then they're like, why am I not happy? Let me turn to and alcohol because I'm so unhappy. But it's like because money is not the answer. Money is just
Mm-hmm.
giving you access
Yes,
to follow
and
your
I
dreams.
so what I
So
really
follow
love
your
too is like
dreams,
even
not the
people who
money.
work in my area, there's a lot of people who are following the spiritual path, but they still have like okay, we in part of our work and part of like the principles and the principality of what I do and what we do is like we literally we give it all over to divine, right? We say like okay, like obviously what I've been taught and known and all the blocks and everything like it has it's distorted, it's delusional. I'm going to give over all of that to divine, to like the highest version of myself, whatever you want to call it, right? And when we do that, essentially, it's like, okay, I'm turning this over so that I can now live in alignment with the truth that lives within me, right? And then to live out these gifts and live out this purpose and live out this freedom. Like, freedom is the path. And what happens a lot of the times is that people do this, but then argue for the limitation around money. Like, oh, like somehow everything else can make its way into the Holy Lands, and yet this area of money or relationship to it, that part doesn't get to feel free. That part doesn't get to feel joyous. That part doesn't get to feel empowered. That part somehow, and it's like, so they argue for the scarcity. Like, well, this is just how it is, or this is just how it gets to be. And it's like, oh my gosh, oh, like, no, you get to feel free around that area too. It's a whole life process, not one of anything is left out of this. And money is definitely included. And, yeah, that's something too, like in like investments and retreats or anything like people, and I know I get it, that feeling of like, can I actually do this for myself? And it's like that action of being like, it's not about the money, it's about the devotion that I'm telling and signaling to myself, and the freedom that then inspires me to truly accept and receive. And yeah, so
Yeah. I love that you brought in the spirituality aspect because so many people reject it in the spiritual community, right? Like, especially my ideal clients, healers, change makers, thought leaders, they're like, money is bad. But I'm like, okay, you believe in oneness, so why are you rejecting a part of you? It's a part of you. Or like everything is one except money. Money is not included in the oneness. It's like bizarro, right? But it's like this is the thing you need to have a bigger impact in the world. Like you don't want to hold on to the millions, give them all away, but have the power to give them all away. Don't just reject it because you rejecting it is not helping anyone. It's just making people richer who aren't doing the best for humanity. So like be greedy
receptivity.
with
Well,
it,
and I'm
take
so
it, and then
excited
give it
because
away. You
we're
know,
going to be
like
going in depth with this more in our summit. We're going to have like money segments, spirituality segments, embodiment segments. I would love to bring parts work into, the summit so people can really like identity is wrapped up in it all. Like it's all about an identity shift. Anytime anyone is wanting to shift anything, it's literally going from one identity into something else. And so that's what I like. I love rebirth. I used to go by Jesus, Jesus, he is us, like rebirth, yeah, reincarnate. Like, yes, I am obsessed with it. Like, let's get in the water, let's, bathe ourselves, baptize ourselves in a new energy. Like, huh, yes. And so I'm excited because, we're talking about, formatting you into it as well. And I would love to see you there, coming in October for the Divinely Dosed Summit, and really making this like anchoring it in. But other than that, how else can people find you, and where can they get connected with you, your platform, social media, whatever is the best way to touch base with you?
yeah, thank you. So my name is Dasha Basakova, and I'll send my website, I'll send a little freebie. I think I'll send over this shamanic guided meditation. Maybe I'll send something around money as well, because that's something I'm like really in the world of if I get my stuff sorted. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram and I'll have lots of content all about money because this is the realm we are currently diving into. And if you're curious about like tapping into your intuition or diving deeper into your superhuman ability and you want to know more about my mystery school, you can just send me a DM on Instagram. I am Dasha Basakova, but I'll send all that over. Those are the best. And also, if you're old school Facebooker, like find me. I'm an old school Facebooker. I'm like still on Facebook. I didn't really ever love Instagram, so I'm so behind on that. But I just freaking love Facebook. I have a Facebook group. I love posting long form like things. So
Yes.
if you're into
I
that, you
love
can
it. Yes,
find
so
me
we will
there
put
as
in the
well.
show
I'll
notes
send it all.
Dasha's information, and you can also catch her on my profile. Click her link, we'll tag you. And thank you so much for bringing us this Divinely Dosed episode and truly dosing us with your magic, your feminine embodiment and power, and then dipping into like something I didn't expect us to get into today, which was money. And I love talking about money. So today, people really got magic, money, energy, parts work, and an exercise to really get into their intuition and something that they can now rely on as a guidance and they can use every day. So this was jam packed with just so much juiciness. And thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to co create some more mysticism and mystery with you soon. Thank you so much.
Cute. I'm just amazed at your wordsmith. Like the word, like all these funny little word, like divinely dosed, Jesus, like just everything. I'm like, whoa, yes, like you really get the essence. So thank you for bringing that. Thank you for bringing your amazing energy. Thank you so much for having me. I just feel so like, I feel divinely dosed. I feel like divinely aligned. Like this is just such a magical movement that you're creating. And such a beautiful offering to your people. I think it is like yummy. So
May all
thank
be
you. It was
blessed,
such
may
an
all be
honor.
whole, may
Thank you
all be
everyone for
hot and
listening.
holy.
And
Thank you
yeah,
so much,
excited to
and we
connect
will
with
talk
deeper.
with you next time. Ciao for now.